And I remind all those present that their words and actions will be broadcast to the wider audience, and certain conduct is unacceptable and will not be tolerated. Should any person not wish to be recorded, I advise that they should leave the meeting room prior to any statement being made. Any defamatory statement made are not in the position of counsel and remain the individual's opinion. Council accepts no responsibility for any defamatory statements, and all liability remains with the persons making that remark. Now do an acknowledgement to country. I would like to acknowledge the Gamilaroi people, who are the traditional custodians of this land. I would also like to pay respects to elders past, present, and extend that respect to Aboriginal people present here tonight. Just like everyone to be upstanding for the prayer. Almighty God, we humbly beseech Thee to vouchsafe Thy blessing upon this council, and direct and prosper our deliberations to the advancement of Thy glory and the true welfare of the people of the Regional Council and Australia. Amen. Amen. I now move to an item, as the Mayor is in attendance via webcast tonight, the Mayor automatically becomes the Chair when he's in attendance unless we have a motion to elect another Chair. So I would ask for a motion to elect another Chair, and just whether Councillor Inglis, seconded Councillor Exel, who are you electing as Chair? The Deputy Mayor, which becomes the Chair. Like to speak to your motion, Councillor Inglis?
Just that, I think that's an excellent choice, Mr. Deputy.
Very good. Anyone wishing to oppose that motion? Anyone wishing to make comment? If not, I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Aye. Against? I'm just seeing whether the Mayor can hear. Can you hear, Mr. Mayor? You can hear. Okay. We move now to apologies and leave of absence. As we have a full contingent, there is no absences tonight. We move now to community consultation, and tonight we have two speakers, and yes, we had Mr. David McKinnon wishing to speak on 8.6. Mr. McKinnon, if you'd come forward and note whether you've made a donation to any councillor or staff member.
No, absolutely not. Can't do it. So my comment tonight will basically be about the recycling centre and the new directions that are basically being requested tonight in the minutes. The TSC has entered into a number of commercial agreements with meat companies and local government to take Category 3 waste and other wastes in the Forest Road landfill facility, all to meet the EPA requirements. There are alternative waste streams for this Category 3, and it depends on the company's bottom line, of course, and the other restrictions and costs the company may have. There are 3 rendering down facilities in Tamworth. Now, they specifically were built after the avian flu outbreak, which basically pointed out that there was dire risk of the material not being treated properly. So the proposal should be appraised on a proposition of 6,000 tonnes of kitchen waste, which is what this town actually supplies to the tip, and not what currently is being organised to be dealt with. It's a lot of the Class 3 from other councils is being diverted to our regional landfill. The amount of waste that TRC staff have proposed will be saved from landfill become clouded by the commercial agreements set up to improve council's income stream and does not need to go to landfill as there is other alternatives, and council has voluntarily chosen to accept it. Now, end of product stream of meatworks and other things like Coffs Harbours, sewage scrapings, etc., really are their responsibility. They're not the community's responsibility, they're not our landfill's responsibility. And I think that is one thing that ratepayers are quite adamant about. The enclosed system that is being talked about to process this Class 3 as yet has not been proven. And that is a worry, and the end product, might I say, the end product, which is supposedly fertiliser for soils and soil enhancements, has had problems attached to it and has seen to be banned by EPA and other health departments because in its trial it actually wasn't suitable, particularly for wine growing and other more sensitive areas. I mean, if TRC's fair income about saving landfill space from normal waste, why enter into commercial agreements with other identities if this is the case? Be honest with ratepayers. It's an income stream, it's purely an income stream, and when councils get up to their neck in private enterprise, it usually ends in tears because one's a service agent and the other one is an enterprise in itself and highly practised at the comings and goings of what happens with money in that way. But a service industry is a completely different direction. We also have been informed that TRC are entering into commercial agreements to take sludge from Oakbank rendering down facility in the future and their wastewater treatment, from their wastewater treatment plant. No estimate quality has been confirmed as yet. It's believed to be around 35,000 tonnes. Now, we started off here talking about 6,000 tonnes for our own town and our own shire and our own area. And suddenly we're going up to 35,000 tonnes. Instead of the Category 3 proposal, TRC should stick to the FOGO, which is the red bin waste that we have, as 58 other councils are currently operating this proven cheaper system, and leave Category 3 to the industry who best knows how to treat their own waste, except they're trying to dodge the cost of it.
Thank you, Mr McKinnon. We have another member of the public wishing to avail himself of community consultation, and that is Mr Peter Gill, who wishes to speak on item 8.3. And Mr Gill, have you made a donation to any councillor member or staff?
I have made no donation to any councillor or staff. Thank you. I'm going to talk tonight on item 8.3, the investigation into the feasibility of a weir across the Peel River in Tamworth. Mayor, acting mayor, councillors, staff and guests. I offer in principle support to this concept. My wish is that the brief presented be amended to include the investigation of several smaller weir locations, either in lieu of and or in conjunction with a single location as canvassed in item 8.3. The proposal I put is based upon the following rationale. The concept of a weir at Paradise for pumping, capture and recharge of the aquifer is accepted, and this has long been part of council considerations and deliberations regarding the drought management plan. Based upon gauge data and cease to flow heights, there's a fall from Tamworth AWS to Paradise at 10 metres, Paradise to the Town Bridge at 4 metres and Town Bridge to Appleby 27 metres. I guess the final locations will determine those heights. In some respects, the higher weirs are problematic in quite a few ways, namely they have larger impoundment areas, larger structures, and they're more restrictive to flows with the attendant increase in afflux under flood conditions. They also act as barriers to fish passage, and the higher they are, the more insurmountable they become. As such, the concept of a series of smaller weirs may produce a better outcome compared to a single larger structure. This may also fit better with plans around integrating the river into the Cable Avenue precinct. Experience I've had suggests that the process of gaining approvals for works in the stream bed and fish passage will be the most likely roadblocks. My suggestions are based around a concreted stream invert, no higher than the bed, and either a post and panel or a box culvert based structure configured to be easily removable and adjustable, and with provision for a low flow valve and fish passage. The temporary weir used at Dungowan appears to have worked quite well, and it's suggested perhaps as a starting point for the smaller structures. I close by asking that the brief be amended to additionally consider multiple weir locations at smaller heights. Thank you for considering my submission.
Thank you, Mr Gill. We move now to item 3, which is the minutes of the previous meeting submitted for approval. I have a recommendation here that the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on Tuesday the 17th of November 2020, copies of which were circulated, be taken as read and confirmed as a correct record of the proceedings of the meeting, except for item 8.5, where the DP number will be corrected to be DP 1211619. We have a mover that those minutes be true and corrected with that. Second, Councillor Inglis. Seconded, Councillor Impey. Councillor Inglis, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, thanks, Mr.
Anyone speaking against the motion? Put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Move now to item 4, which is the disclosure of interest. Any councillor has a item on the agenda which they wish to disclose of interest. Councillor Impey.
Thank you, Mr Acting Mayor. Look, it's only a minor interest, but one I need to mention, as I did last time this was on the agenda, and is item 8.4, possible funding of cooperative research centres. I have a person who I've known for nearly 10 years, who's a colleague in my current employment, an employee of the University of Southern Queensland, and a person I've known for that period of time. However, it's a non-pecuniary, non-significant interest, and I'd like to elect to remain in the chamber.
Thank you, Councillor Impey. Any other councillor have a? Councillor Maxwell.
Yes, Mr Acting Mayor, item 7.3, I'm a member of that local committee at Manila. It's a less than significant interest in non-pecuniary, and I'd like to stay in the room.
Thank you, Councillor Maxwell. Any other councillor having a disclosure of interest? Being no other councillor disclosing interest, we move to item 5, which is the mayoral minutes. Being no mayoral minute, moves us on to item 6, which is notice of motions, which being no notice of motions, brings us now into open council reports. Environment and planning. 7.1, the proposed road name, stage 11, Windmill Hills, subdivision, lot 210, DP. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Impey, Councillor Wilson. Councillor Impey, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, thanks.
Anyone speaking against the motion? In that case, I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Move now to item 7.2, the induction policy, deferral of section 64 headworks payments for subdivision developments. Moved Councillor Rodder and seconded Councillor Tickle. Councillor Rodder, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Mr Acting Mayor. I'm 100% supportive of this and hope that when it goes to the community consultation submission period that we get plenty of advice from impacted members of the community in the building and development industries, advising us that it is probably the way forward, I think, given the impacts of COVID-19 on those industries and I guess the wider economy of our region. I think we need to set ourselves apart from other regions on issues like development, and I think anything that can actually give us that edge and make our place a bit more attractive for development and building industries by deferring these charges, I think is a great thing.
Thank you, Councillor Rodder. Anyone wishing to speak against the motion? Anyone wishing to make comment? Councillor Wilson.
Thanks, Mr Assistant Mayor. TRC is to be seen as a facilitator rather than a developer ourselves, and this is one way we can facilitate development, and I think it's a really positive move. I'm also confident that the whole policy factors in protection, that we won't be carrying excess fees and that it's accountable to any on-selling of property. So it's a well-structured policy, and it's one I'd like to see come in. And in fact, I think we probably should have been functioning this way previously, so I certainly support it.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Anyone else wishing to make comment? Councillor Oldby.
Thanks, Mr Acting Mayor. Look, I think this is a good idea also. I also think with Blueprint 100, we have a plan to grow our community, and as part of growing a community, you need development, and to make development as attractive as possible, you can help aid in that development, and I think this policy does just that. And I do look forward to the feedback that we receive from the building sector and the development sector, and with bated breath, so we'll see how it goes.
Thank you, Councillor Oldby. Councillor Inglis.
Thanks, Mr Acting Mayor. Having read the policy, you know, what's important with this, of course, is that we ensure that those amounts of money that are owing are in fact paid, because they do add up to hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I think the policy covers most eventualities quite well. There's really only one it doesn't, and that's, of course, if a developer becomes bankrupt. But that is what it is, and whilst that's not, well, it does happen, so that's the only sort of gap I can see there, that bankruptcy we would find difficult to get our money. My other comment is, I noticed in the report it refers to section 603 of the Local Government Act being a charge on the land. That's actually section 550 of the Local Government Act. Section 603 is just the section of the Act that enables the issue of a certificate. So the author might just want to check on and make sure that if that's in any of the public exhibition stuff, in fact, it's section 550 is the charge on the land, and that's actually very important, because being a charge on the land enables us to recoup it if something goes wrong.
Thank you, Councillor Inglis. Any other councillor wishing to make comment? Being no further comment, I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Move now to item 7.3, which is a development application for the construction of the use of a 5 megawatt solar farm. Councillor Tickle, and seconded Councillor Inglis. Councillor Tickle.
Thank you, Mr Acting Mayor. This is indeed a wonderful achievement for this group, a small group of people which started in 2014. There's only 2 to start with, then 3 or 4, and brought the CWA on board, which was a wonderful move to get them involved. And it's a committee in the early years that I worked very closely with as a council representative, and they're to be congratulated on the way that they have grown and informed this project and informed the community and educated the community on sustainability and the possibility, and now it's going to come to fruition, of empowering a small community of Manila. They've worked very closely with all tiers of government and been successful in obtaining state government funding, and now in more recent times private investment to see this project come to a fruition. So it's well done to the community, which comprises members not just from Manila but from Tamworth as well and from the district. So a lot of work has been put into this, particularly in the early stages, and that those initial people have stuck with it and seen it through and got people on board, and as I said earlier, educated them to the benefits of this for themselves, for individuals, and for the community as a whole. It's a terrific example of what can be done, and we know that we'll be seeing more projects like this in the future.
Thank you, Councillor Tickle. Anyone wishing to speak against the motion? Anyone wishing to make comment? Councillor Inglis.
Thanks, Mr Acting Mayor. I'd just like to add to Councillor Tickle's comments, and that's to congratulate the community group out there. They've been hard at this for at least about the last 7 years. In 2015, they received $46,000 in funding from the New South Wales government, and with that, they actually did the feasibility studies and all the rest of it. In 2019, the Manila Community Renewable Group partnered with Provenance Asset Group, which was good to see because they're an Australian-owned investment firm and social enterprise. And it's just a great example of a community group being proactive and energised by things they believe in And as I say, they've been banging away at this for at least the last 7 years, so well done to them. And it's also great to see that they've also got in the pipeline 3.5 million in further grants to look at storage options, and that includes hydrogen batteries and such technology. So congratulations to that group, fantastic.
Thank you, Councillor Inglis. Any other councillor wishing to make comment? Being no other comment, I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried.
Mr Mayor, before we go on, could you ask if there's any hard copies of the business paper available?
Yours is frozen too, mine's frozen too.
You on the same?
I've rebooted it.
I've got my pen.
Got problems?
Oh, I'm just, it was a DA, do we have to put our hands up for that? Do we have
Thank
to
you.
show division?
Good point. The division, because of the being a DA. We're not, I don't think so.
It's not really a deal.
The
It's not an
supplement,
actual number.
because it's not actually a,
It's
we're not
not-
determining
we're
it.
not determining.
We're not determining
It's going to the
it.
normal
That's why
research
I
planning
didn't do it.
Just.
You right now, Councillor Webb?
Yeah,
Everyone else on board with their agenda?
I think Charles was having trouble too.
Oh, I've rebooted, I'm back live again.
You're back live again, okay. No problem. Okay then, move now to item 8, which is infrastructure and services. We move now to item 8.1. Councillor Rodder, seconded Councillor Maxwell. Councillor Rodder, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mr Acting Mayor. A great initiative for some of those lands that, that haven't had, we require development and haven't, and certainly there won't be too many objections to in the Tamworth community with the first tranche of upgrade of those old basketball facilities. So, I'm sure that people that enjoy the facilities that we have will look forward to the development of those, the progress of the development of those facilities, and obviously into the future down Locks Lane and things like that. So this is a great step forward for our plans to enhance sporting facilities in our local government area.
Thank you, Councillor Rodder. Anyone wishing to speak against the motion? Anyone wishing to make comment? Councillor Impey.
Thanks, Mr Acting Mayor. Look, I just want to congratulate the staff for all the work. They've been working on this for a long time. And I guess it's a challenge to try and keep up with the sport mad community that we have that's growing also, and ensuring that we can keep up with the with the facilities that keep pace with that growth. And I think the staff and the teams that work on these sorts of things are keeping up ahead of that need, which is I think should be important.
Thank you, Councillor Impey. Any other councillor wishing to make comment? Councillor Tickle.
Yes, it's a magnificent development for that area and providing quality sporting fields, and the whole project's been very well thought out, and will be more sustainability measures there as well. We can now see turf instead of asphalt, and won't that be wonderful? And we're going to be using bore water as well to irrigate that turf, and of course it will add to our our existing sporting fields and facilities, and further attract sporting events to our area. So well done to all involved.
Thank you, Councillor Tickle. Councillor Webb.
Yes, I won't say what's been said, but I'll support what's been said, but I am actually impressed with the costing that's around this night. I think it's a very, very affordable option to get what we're going to get out of this, so the community should be very excited about our sporting fields generally, but this is a great addition, and the costing to this is not humongous, and I think it's great to see.
Thanks, Councillor Webb. Any further comment? Being no further comment, put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Move now to item 8.2, the country cricket. Councillor Webb, and seconded Councillor Rodder. Councillor Webb, would you like to speak to the motion?
Oh, Mr Mayor, we've got some wonderful sporting facilities here, in particular some fantastic cricket facilities, and I think it's great to have the Country New South Wales cricket here, and I believe that whilst we might be giving them a small amount of money in terms of relieving them of the fees and charges, the city will benefit in a very big way from a large number of people coming here to support that event.
Thank you, Councillor Webb. Anyone wishing to speak against the motion? Anyone wishing to make comment? Councillor Wilson.
Mr Acting Mayor, I certainly support this. It's really important. Bradman Cup was always held in Tamworth until recent years, so it's jolly good to see it returning, and we need to make sure that we don't lose it again. And as a parent who's tromped around New South Wales and Queensland with cricketers and teams and sons, it's really important to nurture these sort of carnivals, because they bring a lot of money into the town and they bring a lot of kudos. And down the track, when these cricketers become higher up in their field, they relate back to the good experience they've had here, and they suggest different locations to go for such events. And we need to take these events quite seriously, and so I endorse it. It's good to see Bradman Cup back. And with your indulgence, I'd like to go and get my iPad because my
Absolutely, Councillor Wilson.
thing's got the hiccups. Thanks.
We'll just have a recess for a couple of seconds.
Can I just make a quick comment? Councillors, you might just note in the financial implications part of the report, the second paragraph, that second paragraph actually related to the previous report, just in case you didn't notice, but it was a late insertion into the business paper and it was just placed in the wrong spot, but that was about the, just to reassure you that there was no additional maintenance costs associated with the additional turf fields, because there was an offset.
Sorry.
You right? Are you okay, Councillor Wilson? Is it up and running, or can we give you?
I've got this one up and running. That one's just coming on and off.
Okay. Back on. Yeah, Councillor Rempe.
Thanks again, Mr. Acting Mayor. Once upon a time, one of these cricket events, indeed a lot of those traditional male-dominated events, would be full of males. Really interesting to read that there are significant numbers of female cricketers coming to Tamworth as well. And on the back of the Big Bash, Women's Big Bash League, the final was on Saturday night last weekend. A good win to the Sydney Thunder, a New South Wales-based team. So I can only see that in years to come, we can hold on to events like this, that women's participation and girls' participation will increase even more. And that's fantastic news for women and girls in our own community as well. Because as we know, we do suffer a little bit from some subtle laziness in our community, and I think it's really important to try and encourage those parts of our community who don't exercise enough and play sport enough to do so through these types of events and what this type of event will bring.
Thank you, Councillor Rempe. Any other councillor wishing to make comment? Being no further comment, put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Move now to item 8.3, the investigation into the feasibility of a weir across the Peel River in Tamworth. Move Councillor Wilson, seconded Councillor Webb. Councillor Wilson, do you wish to speak to your motion?
Yes, I will. Mr Mayor, Acting Mayor, this is one of those items that really is exciting because it's a new era, although the proposal probably has been on the agenda for about 30 years or more. And it just makes so much sense in so many ways. Water management, flood mitigations, sports field, the drift wells, keeping level up for them, recreation and well-being, water reuse, the environment, flora, fauna, all those things. I actually do concur with the suggestion that came from community consultation that a series of weirs or so be looked at. I know many years ago, one of the suggestions was down in the Anna branch that in terms of flood mitigation, that there be a inflatable wall built so that we always know how long it's going to take the water to get from Chaffey to here, and the water that's being held here could be released and then the next water caught. And so from that point of view, from flood mitigation, it really benefits us, especially around country music time. And if I could defer to history, many years ago I was the instigator of a raft race down Peel River, part of a Rotaract club, and I think that ran for about 3 or 4 years. And just to be able to have that sort of fun in the centre of town, it brought everybody together, and I can envisage with water in the centre of town, the town along Bicentennial Park, it just gives the city a new life, and it's quite exciting to think about, but it's particularly valuable with the opportunity to be more water sustainable, to keep our drift wells flowing, and to use our town really well. So it's exciting, and we really need to pursue this.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Anyone wishing to speak against the motion?
Mr Acting Mayor, could I just make a suggestion? Councillor Wilson, given your comments, could I suggest to councillors that in dot point 1 under the word, after the word investigation, we say of one or more weirs?
Yes, I certainly endorse that, because that's what I'd like to see, and it makes so much sense. Can I add that it also makes sense in terms of the two different catchments we have coming in here, and maybe that can be lined up to be particularly useful with the Coburn and the Peel coming down. It means it's caught below the town rather than above the town, possibly. Thank you.
Anyone wishing to speak against the motion? Councillor Webb.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Look, I think the idea of a weir in the city is so beneficial to us all. A few years ago, I know that it's been talked about a lot, but a few years ago I went to a previous water minister and asked him what did we have to do in our city to get a weir in our river. And the answer I got back was from the bureaucrats that you'll never get one. They've moved on, and I think we've all moved on because we've all seen the harshness of the dry weather that we've gone through in the last drought, and there is needs for consideration for a whole range of things to secure the city's water supply. So I do believe that a couple of weirs would probably be a good thing to do. But first of all, the river actually has to be cleaned out, and it's an absolute mess at the moment. Our river is a mess. So the two benefits from having weirs or a weir in the city will be, one is it will provide a very good backdrop to our Bicentennial Park and to that area around the regional playground, and make the city a lot more attractive for visitors when they come here, make the city a lot more attractive for the people that live here when they go down to the park and have their picnics or whatever. But I guess the most beneficial reason will be what it will actually do in terms of helping secure the water supply for the city. More often than not, the Coburn is flowing and the Peel is not. And of course, we're dragging water from the Peel, so we have to order water out of Chappie Dam, and we pump that water at our offtake into our facility there where we treat the water. If we put a weir in place where we can actually hold back water and then put an offtake in there where we can actually capture the water that's flowing down the Coburn and pump that into our treatment facility, that will then allow us to use that water and not take so much from Chappie Dam, the water storage that supplies the secure water for this city. So that will give us longevity in supply and will enable us to grow it and prosper as a city as we should be. The benefits from that are fantastic. It also recharges that whole well field in King George, depending where the weirs go, but regardless of probably where they go anyway, it will recharge those wells in that King George well field. Wells that we pull from along with many farmers. So there's benefits for not only us as a city, not only the residents that need the water, the farmers there will benefit too. So there'll be nobody arguing against that. But if we put a weir or two weirs in and we get that benefit of the beautification of the city, that is just a win for everyone. And I cannot imagine anybody opposing such a great idea. The problem for us will be then going through and getting the designs in place and then convincing the government and potentially the bureaucrats of the need to clear the river, get these weirs in place, secure our water for the future, and make that happen as quickly as we possibly can. There will be an argument that we're holding back water. That argument in my mind is invalid, because one high flow will fill those weirs or that weir. Once that weir is full, nothing changes. The amount of water that comes down the river will come down the river regardless of whether the weir is there or not. So one high flow will solve any problems with any arguments that are saying that we're taking the water out of the river. So, Mr Mayor, I cannot support this strongly enough. I think it's probably something that the city has been trying to get for many, many years for a whole range of reasons. But at the moment, along with all of the other ideas that we're coming up with and Bruce is coming up with from the Water Department to try and secure the water for the city, this is something that must happen.
Thank you, Councillor Webb. Councillor Lloyd.
Thank you, Mr Acting Mayor. Councillor Webb stole a bit of my thunder in all that, but I do agree, and it's a good option. We need a suite of options for our water supplies into the future, and I think it's a great opportunity, as Councillor Webb indicated, recharging those aquifers adjacent those wells. I'm sure we'll get pushback from perhaps fisheries, but if there was ever a great time to do it, it would be now. I mean, probably wouldn't find a lot of viable fish colony in that part of the river at the moment. But the other problem is the excessive burden onto the environment of the woody weeds that are adjacent both sides of the bank and within the bank, within the sort of the river riverbed. That's it. All along that section of river, and anyone that we've probably had a conversation with in the community has indicated that it's aesthetically displeasing, and compares Tamworth to a lot of other regional rural towns that have very attractive looking river banks to go and take their families to. You wouldn't want to take your family down that place because you'd know that you'd probably step on a brown or black snake, and I just think it's from a water point of view, from a recreational point of view, environmental point of view, as far as fixing that environmental weed burden that is right along there, and it's quite significant, and there are quite some quite bad environmental weeds along there. I think it's a great win if we could get the support of the government that we need.
Thank you, Councillor Rodder. Anyone else wishing to make comment? I just got one comment. Weirs aren't new. Paradise, where the Paradise Bridge is, there was a weir that was back in the late 1800s and early 1900s that was a weir for Tamworth water supply, so it's not new. And in the Coburn Valley, there has about 12 weirs that have been put there for stream erosion and lifting the aquifer. It proved very, very successful, so I totally support the motion. So, no further comment, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Move now to item 8.4, which is possible funding for the cooperative research centres. Move it. Councillor Wilson, seconded Councillor Inglis. Councillor Wilson, wish you make a comment? Anyone wishing to speak against the motion? Anyone wishing to make comment? Anyone wishes to make comment? I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Move now to item 8.5, which is the mixed waste organic material agreement received update. Moved Councillor Inglis and seconded Councillor Tickle. Councillor Inglis, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, thanks.
Anyone wishing to speak against the motion? Being no further comment, put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Move now to oh, sorry. I didn't get you, did I?
Yeah, you want, it doesn't matter, it's too late now.
Yeah. Item 8.6, organic recycling facility, expression of interest, outcomes and requests to prepare a release the selected tender. Do I have a move for that, please? Councillor Inglis, seconded Councillor Wilson. Councillor Inglis, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thanks, Mr Acting Mayor. Food organics, garden organics, FOGA. This is about food organics. 30 to 40% of our residential solid waste is food organics. About 15% of the waste stream for commercial. So, it's a significant product source. What really interests me with it is the methane emissions. In Australia, they reckon the methane emissions from food organics, the decomposition of such, is 3 to 4% of Australia's total greenhouse gases, which that is a very significant number. What's interesting is that methane is about 25 times more potent than carbon dioxide's contribution to greenhouse gases. So it's a significant issue, and you can't help but think that's just going to get ramped up in relation to local government in Australia and its tips. I mean, there's already a little bit of it there now in the context of forcing local government to do something about that, but that's really just going to get more so. So very timely, the path that we're going down. In Europe, interestingly, unprocessed organic waste is banned from landfills. So again, I can just see that probably within a decade, every council is going to have to be doing something like this. In Victoria, 53 of the 79 councils down there provide an organic food waste service. In New South Wales, it's currently only about 25% that do it. So I don't see it as new ground, but necessary ground. So great to see, but obviously it's got to be affordable. The modelling that we've done to date, there's a few issues in there that concern me. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to see, particularly when you see, and we've adopted our new Forest Road Capital Works plan, there are some substantive investments going into Forest Road over the next 10 to 15 years in particular, some very large sums. And of course, that's where our waste management charge is going to be levied to pay for both these things. So we're predicting, a 10 to 16 to 17% increase. We're not really going to know exactly the impacts of that until the end of the EOI process or the tendering process, because a whole range of assumptions in the modelling I don't completely agree with, but again, we'll have a more accurate picture when the tenders close. But there's large expenditures involved, and we're going to have to go through the fine-tooth comb after the tender process, because it is going to impact the waste management charge reasonably substantially. Otherwise, our reserves will be in negative territory, and we can't have that. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Inglis. Anyone wishing to speak against the motion? Any further comment? Councillor Taylor.
This is another example of turning waste into a commodity. I mean, the time has come and we all realise that we just can't keep putting waste into landfill and then having to deal with that problem and building more landfills when the waste could be used as a commodity. And this are not just, in this case, organics, but it's the case for much of our waste. This project will extend the life of our current landfill of taking all of that waste from there and using it in the organics facility. It's interesting that this project has certainly had a strong endorsement from very reputable industry leaders in putting in expressions of interest towards the tender documents, and then of course that's going to be going out publicly. And the industry that we've had showing the interest are leaders, and they've got a lot of experience in composting and also of marketing that material and having an end use for it. So we just need to keep moving forward in this direction and turning our waste into commodities.
Thank you, Councillor Tickle. Any further comment? Councillor Webb, I've got you this time.
Thanks, Mr Mayor, or Acting Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Chair, whatever. Look, I'll be supporting it, whilst I have from the outset said I believe this is in the wrong place. It should be at another occasion, and I've said that from the very beginning. We have to go through and we have to deliver to our community a better solution for organic waste, and this is probably the way to do it. It does concern me the cost of it and what that cost is going to be on our ratepayers. It does also make me wonder what the cost of the material that's going to be, manufactured through this process, and is that going to be an affordable product to landholders in our region, or is it going to, wherever it's sold. So I hope that the marketing of that will work. I hope it's affordable for those who will want to buy the product that come out of here, because they are very good for soil conditioning if they're done properly, and I'm sure this will be. But I think the big decision for this council is probably not so much moving this motion and recommendation tonight and accepting it, but the big decision will be on how it's going to be operated, who's going to operate it. And I think that's when the big decision will be made. And in turn, when that's done, we'll know what the costs are. And the costs do concern me, but I have to say, we probably don't have much choice looking into the future. And the future is going to be, as I think it might have been Councillor Inglis said, that all councils and all bodies that look after waste in the future are going to be looking at these things, and they're going to have no choice but to look at these things. So I will support it, but I think the big decision will be when we actually finally look at the contractors that might be involved in this and what the costs are going to be.
Thank you, Councillor Webb. Any further comment? Being no further comment, put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. That now brings us on to item 9, which is the Governor's Strategy and Finance Report. We have 9.1, schedule of council meeting. Councillor Webb, seconded Councillor Impey. Councillor Webb, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, it's pretty straightforward, Mr Mayor.
Anyone speaking against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Motion carried.
I was going to make a comment, you didn't ask for other comments. I suspect this might be the
I'll
first
give you.
report that this authors submitted. Is it something, I could be wrong, but I just noticed the author and I thought this might be one of the first reports that author's contributed to the business paper, so well done.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. We move now to item 10, which is the community service section of our meeting, and at 10.1, which is the Tamworth Regional Inclusive Cultural Advisory Committee. I have a mover, Councillor Wilson, and a seconder, Councillor Impey. Councillor Wilson, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, Mr Mayor, I've said before, this group is a new group, it's a new concept for Tamworth, and it's a really cohesive, enthusiastic group functioning in Tamworth, and I'm sure it's going to contribute in an interesting way to our future. I'd like to thank the staff. Kay Delahunt supports it amazingly well, and we've had input from other staff such as Peter Ross and our director of the gallery, and so it's really exciting to see. Next year we're planning a workshop with a facilitator, just so that the gifts that they bring and the insightful ideas are activated in the best way possible. So I suppose I'm just saying watch this space.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Anyone wishing to speak against the motion? Being no speaking against it, anyone wish to make comment? No one wishing to make comment? Oh, you got, right, yeah. Councillor Webb.
I was waiting for someone else, Mr Acting Mayor. I look at the report and I see there increase in the commentary in the report, we talk about increasing volunteerism in the cultural sector, and I think that's a great thing to do, and I hope we're able to do that, because I think into the future, as we grow and prosper as a community, there are businesses in this region that are growing. They're looking for workers, and they're struggling to get workers, and I think if we can, a lot of the workers that are going to come are going to be multicultural, and I think that what we need to do is try and be as inclusive as we possibly can as a community with these people, so we can keep them here and keep them working. And I think that getting people to get in and volunteer as well as work here, they get to know more about the community, and I think that will be an added value to the growth and prosperity of this great community we live in.
Thank you, Councillor Webb. Any further comment? Being no further comment, put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Move now to item 10.2, Central Northern Region Libraries meeting, 11th of November. Moved Councillor Wilson, seconded Councillor Tickle. Councillor Wilson, would you speak to your motion?
Mr Mayor, just for those who have been through the details and the changes in the habits of borrowing and using different resources within the library, we'll make the assumption that a lot of this has been in response to COVID, and I'm sure it has been, in different ways throughout the community. There's, this includes Uralla and Walker and Tamworth and Glen Innes, many other areas. It's not just Tamworth. So it's quite interesting to see how the different communities have responded in their use of library in a different way. And that's just an observation, but it is interesting to see that.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Anyone wishing to speak against the motion? Anyone wishing to make comment? Being no further comment. Motion, all those in favour? Against? Carried. Now, that moves us on to item 11, which is the reports to be considered in closed council. At this juncture, I make the offer to any members of the public if they would wish that any of these items should not be listed in closed council. Ask the General Manager, is there any written submissions? Being no written submissions, I invite the members of the public to vacate the room. And ask for a mover to move it.
So moved, Mr. Acting Mayor.
Moved, Mr. Mayor. Seconded, Councillor Inglis.